Well, good morning. The Friday edition of the show is with us here live on the Joy Sports and Multi TV. My name is Kwame Ajman. I'm already looking forward to the big bout coming up later this weekend. It's Floyd Mayweather Jr. up against Saul Alvarez. That's going to be one hell of a fight. Floyd Mayweather standing to earn up to £21.2 million from this bout, and that's going to be for what? 36 minutes. That's even if the bout travels the full distance. These guys make an awesome lot of money. All that and more coming up on the show this morning. The Globe Premier League. Well, is it going to be Globe Premier League? Well, the sponsors are still owing the club some money, and as to when the monies are going to be paid, we're still not too sure about that. Maybe, just maybe, that could change. We'll be bringing you an exclusive interview we had with the PLB board chairman, Robert Abrapia, on some of these issues and more. FA President Christian Tichi has also had his take on the Globe Premier League, which is scheduled to come off tomorrow. We'll be keeping you up to speed with that, together with a big fight coming up later this weekend. It's going to be Floyd Mayweather Jr. versus Saul Canelo Alvarez. Joshua Clottey is also going to be in action, and we're going to be bringing you some highlights of his bouts preceding this one. All this and more coming up after this break.
Fashion gear, Tigo Fest, a babyano, and what yet, and what yet, Yabo as a photographer, and what you boy, touch my by the way you can, you flew on your room, and the cock cables fed to a fashion, a month was a what year. Say, Mancasim a combo of fashion. I want the Tigo Fest that the copy. Mancasim Fue, yeah, Mancasim Fue, yeah, free Tigo Fest of fashion. Yet the bow prono pair. September was so many that I trust to do a 14 September, our Mancasim school Kasim. I know to four Kukudam, beat the Sabandana, dance like king. Beyond the money, Shaka movement team. Stage Slim the dancing bastard. Pop skinny. And at the young kid on the block, Tutu La Patos. Small boys are young. Ebe bon frete. Tigo Fest, Mancasim Akwamba Fashia. Tigo for an Asoyasne.
Smile. You've got Tigo.
Adum TV, Yewazoye, Tigo Fest, no size, no size.
Now you know why we are not getting tighter.
And you want him.
Small boys are young. Palasusa, ha, Melan Palasusa.
Defense-splitting passes, nerve-wracking defending, crucial saves, heart-and-mouth moments, and breathtaking goals of the beautiful game.
Theo Walcott, what a magnificent individual goal!
Everything football on the Football Show on the Joy Sports channel and Multi TV from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. on Mondays and Fridays. My name is George Addy Jr., and with my team of experts, expect razor-sharp analysis as we cover every conceivable angle and examine every scenario of the old beautiful game. Remember, it's Mondays and Fridays on the Joy Sports channel. This show is powered by Joy Sports, the thrill of the game.
Well, as usual, we'll begin with the sporting tabloids. This morning, I have the Graphic Sports, the 90 Minutes, the Kotoko Express, the Hearts News, and Multi Sports. Quite a number of our papers on the market these days. Let's begin with the Graphic Sports, and you have the big kickoff as far as the Globe Premier League is concerned. Well, there you go, together with our other stories on the front page of the Graphic Sports newspaper. We move on to the lifestyle page of the Graphic Sports. And, well, quite a number of women being profiled here, ladies tennis and their dressing styles. And I recall some of these ladies, watching some of them live and watching some of them on tape. Well, I just hope you can try and make some of these ladies out when they used to play. Martina Navratilova, Margaret Court, Stephanie Graf, Monica Sellers, Serena Williams, and quite a number of other ladies in there. We move on to the center spread of the graphic sports. And what do we have there? We have the new man who is going to be running the International Olympic Committee, Thomas Bach, together with pictures of some of the matches played in World Cup qualifiers around the globe. So get a copy of the graphic sports and get to see a lot more on this new man, Thomas Bach, who is the new IOC president. And on the back page of the paper, you have the big kickoff. Kotoko to be third time lucky, and it's all about the Globe Premier League that is scheduled to come off that Sunday at the various league centres. Let's move on from the graphic sports and get to see the 90 minutes. And you would bet that the 90 minutes always has pictures of our Ghanaian players and beyond. Who are they featuring this morning? Well, Kevin Prince Boateng is there. Derek Boateng is there as well. Derek fires warning to Fulham mates. While he's struggling to get games in there. It's going to be match number 4 of the English Premier League this weekend. Well, Joy Sports is going to be bringing you live the game between Stoke and Man City from the Britannia Stadium tomorrow at 2 p.m. So you make a date with us on that one. Globe Premiership bounces back, and Mayweather to destroy Alvarez tomorrow. Well, all that and more coming up. Ghanaian fans still don't trust KP. Kevin's, what do we have there? Kevin's Wahala. All that and more on the front page of the 90 Minutes newspaper. The back page of the 90 Minutes has a setting. Let me see if you can make her out. Serena Williams, she won her 17th Grand Slam over the weekend and is making as much money on the courts as well as off the courts. Serena Williams, the 17th Grand Slam winner. Let's move away from the 90 minutes and do some club newspapers now, beginning with the Kumasi Asante Kotoko Express. They are Porcupines to Sheikh Sunyani. And, well, new recruiter Jordan Opoku, he used to play for Kotoko, played for Brecum Chelsea, these days FC Brecum. He's back into the fold of the Porcupine Warriors together with Michael Helegbe, and they are prepared for action later this weekend. And the back page has Kotoko head for league opener in Sunyani. All this and more in the Kumasi Asante Kotoko Express. Grab a copy and get to read a lot more on these stories. Let's move on to the Hearts news now, and we are ready for Edibiase. Coach David Duncan has been talking tough ahead of the new league season. He's got Selassie, who he says will do the business in the absence of Mahatma Otu. Romeo Agban is there, and that young kid, Abi, is also in there. And, Coach David Duncan is saying that the team is ready for match day 1. Let's finally wrap up the tabloid segment with multi-sports. And, well, they have a plethora of players on the front page of their paper this morning. Lionel Messi is there, Kuja Samoa, Sule Muntari, Cristiano Ronaldo. Practically everybody who matters in the world of football has found his image on the front page of the multi-sports newspaper for one reason or the other. It's match day 4 in the English Premier League, match day 3, match day 4 as well in the Spanish La Liga, match day 1 in Ghana, World Cup qualifiers over the weekend. So much more in the world of football. The back page of the multi-sport has our fixtures of the Globe Premier League. We'll be bringing you all that and more in the course of the program, especially the fixtures for match day 1. So that's it for the newspaper segments of the show. Just make your way to the newsstands and get to grab a copy and read extensively on the stories on the front page. We're focusing on the Globe Premier League because that's going to be commencing on this weekend. It's match day 1 after quite a pretty long break. Ghanaian football fans are missing their star players and would want to see how the various teams are preparing for the Globe Premier League this season. Well, yesterday we were fortunate enough to catch up with the man who makes things happen as far as the Globe Premier League is concerned, board chairman Welbeck Abra Apia, and he spoke extensively about preparations that are being made by the Professional League Board as the league beckons. Let's have a listen to Mr. Welbeck Abra Apia.
Series of courses from which a selection has been made for those who will be in the center and those who will also be on the lines. And a lot of review of last season's events as far as officiating is concerned have been made known to them, and a lot of discussions have gone on. And I will say I sincerely praise the GFA's referee committee for the able manner they've handled these refresher courses for the referees. They are ready, as we've been told. Now let's come to match commissioners. In the past, we had match commissioners who were different personnel from coordinators. This time round, the two have been fused together. So we didn't find match coordinators also playing the roles they were playing earlier on in the past seasons. But then the match commissioner will be handling that alongside this match commissioning of matches. And we also believe that this will be handled appropriately. Now let's look at the fields of play, or the venues. We've managed to go through all the venues. And I bet you I took part myself in the inspection of these venues. I was at Pando, and I was supposed to have been at Wa. And then the personnel who went on these inspections were 3 in all. That is, referees committee gave us a personnel, the security committee also gave us personnel, and then they were led by the PLB member in each of these venues. And so the venues throughout the country were divided into some groups, and for each of them there were these 3 categories of persons who went to inspect. And when we start, and possibly we are able to get a sponsor for the television coverage, then of course you see a bit of a difference in terms of the venues to be used this coming season. One major thing you will find this time, which I wish to let the public know, is the fact that in the past, let's take Pando for instance, where I went to inspect. From the dressing rooms of the players and the officials to the field of play is quite a distance. And it is here that intimidation in the past had been going on. Not only at Pando, but almost all the centers where there were what we called no tunnels. This time around, each of these venues have got tunnels. The field of play itself, some of them needed to be reshaped. There were a lot of undulating fields in some of these venues, but then we've been able to advise, and they have put these things right. So in all, we'll be using all the venues as required by the clubs, except Dansuman, which is Karindorf Park, where through our inspection we got to know that they were regrassing the field of play And we sincerely told them that we were not going to allow them to use the place for this season. They have assured us that they will be able to put things right before the commencement of the second round. That is in January. Fine. We have accepted that. So we will not be using Karindorf Park from this very first round. Now, when we're looking at some of the other issues like ticketing, ticketing is another venue or issue where in certain places in the past, we had used this advanced electronic ticketing, and it has been very, very useful. I always say that a club like Abusuen Dwarfs, a club like Chelsea, have always insisted on using this electronic advanced tickets. The last match House of Oak played with Kotoko, they used it, and it helped. And so we're going to continue using some of these aspects of our game, but then it's not going to be compulsory. Where it matters that we will not, or the club is not very keen in using the advanced ticket, fair enough. But then those who want to make money, so that whoever enters will pay for, except when you are on the complimentary and all that, will be able to, the clubs will be able to benefit from this. Now let's look at complimentary cars. Complimentary cars is the issue which goes hand in hand with ticketing. And we are expecting that the clubs at the various centers will have to sit down with the National Sports Authority where they are using National Sports Authority venues, and where it is not, whoever is in charge of the field of play, that is the stadium, will have to sit down with the various clubs to decide how complimentaries should be given out. Now, media accreditation, I'm happy to say that this is no more handled by the PLB. We hear all kinds of stories from outside there where people are saying the PLB, we don't know how media, whether we'll be using the tickets, what do you call it, media accreditation, which we used last year or not. We are not. Last year, and for the past 2 years now, we have never had anything to do with media accreditation. It is handled by another committee, and that is the media committee. It is not PLB who issues media accreditation. So if by now, today being Thursday, you've not heard of whatever, how do you be able to cover these matches, which we all cherish, will be covered by journalists? Of course, it should not be put on the doorsteps of PLB. It should go to the media committee. There's a credible chairman with effective members as members of the committee. So please, spare us that kind of trash which you've been giving us, that PLB is responsible for almost everything. No. The same goes with security. I just mentioned that we went around the venues inspection with the security committee members. They have also got a hand here. They approved of all the venues we have inspected. And we expect that if there's anything concerning security, they will be able to handle it. What people might not know or do not probably accept is the fact that until last 2 seasons, PLB had to do almost everything in connection with the league. But this time round, there have been a lot of committees which have come up, and they are responsible for certain aspects of the game. So please, spare us, the PLB, of all the chastisement we often receive from you. Now, let's talk about sponsorship. It's rather very disappointing to hear that as we speak now, with just about 3-4 days for us to commence another season, we don't know whether Glo is coming or not. Glo assured us that by the middle or the first week of September, they will make good funds to us. And these funds are the previous outstandings. As we speak now, nothing has come. Let me tell you something. As early as 7 o'clock this morning, I had to call the second topmost person of Glo in Lagos. I was fortunate that he even received the call and asked him, "Are you serious with us?" The answer is that everything is on course and that by Saturday they will be able to make funds available. I said, Saturday, a day before the commencement of the league. What are you trying to suggest? How do we call this coming season's league? Do we call it Glo Premier League or what? I think Mr. Nyantechi is not in the country. When he returns from Japan, a situation of this nature will have to be looked at carefully.
So that was the PLB board chair, Welbeck Abrapi, addressing issues concerning the Glo Premier League, which is scheduled to kick off on Sunday. Issues concerning ticketing, sponsorship, and marketing of the league. Well, he's made it clear to us that the PLB may not be directly responsible for some of these things, but the bottom line is, at the end of the day, the Premier League board is supposed to supervise all the activities of all these groups, and it's only fair that when things are not going on very well, all the blame may be laid at his doorstep because he is the chairman. But, well, he says that that is not the case and that he works in tandem with other bodies who are supposed to make sure that they also carry out their duties effectively. Well, it's going to be match day 1 of the Glo Premier League on Sunday, and he's not even sure whether it's going to be called the Glo Premier League because there are still some outstanding debts that would have to be cleared. There are monies owed the club from last season. Monies that are supposed to be made available to the clubs this season is also not ready. With our goer style, they say. Well, the GFA president was on a Sports Link program a couple of weeks ago, where he was hosted by my colleague Ridwan Ibrahim Asante, and he also spoke extensively concerning this season's 2013-2014 Glo Premier League. Again, we bring you some excerpts of that interview.
Flow of fans into the league is not a peculiar phenomenon to Ghana. It's common in sub-Saharan Africa. If we go to Nigeria, it's more prevalent than here. If we go to some other countries, they don't even have sponsors at all. The fact that we have a sponsor who is contracted to pay a certain amount of money and yet has gone ahead to default in the payment of the money, does not mean we don't have a sponsor at all. We've had various arrangements with Glo, and as I speak to you now, there is an agreement that the arrears Glo owes the Football Association will be settled in 3 tranches. The first tranche will be paid by the first week of September. The second one will be paid by the first week of November, and the last tranche will be paid by the first week of January. And after the first tranche is paid, we will then sign a new contract to renew the existing relationship which expired at the end of the last season. And so it's not too bad a case. It's not easy to get a sponsor to pay $3 million in Ghana. I've said and observed somewhere that the adequacy or the volume of sponsorship that we're able to attract is linked to the size of the economy. It's a function of the economy. South Africa is
directly proportional.
Yeah, they are linked, directly linked. The South African economy is the strongest in Africa. And so there's no doubt.
Is it for that reason, the economic reasons? That's why it makes it difficult for the FA to terminate the contract with Glo when they default?
If you are terminating a contract, you must take a lot of factors into consideration. Default alone is not enough, but you must also look at the willingness of the person to honor his obligation to you. If there are commitments and you believe that the person will definitely honor his obligations to you, why do you rush and terminate the contract? You may go ahead and terminate it and not get the money within the shortest time you expect it. You may take it to court and it may drag on for years. Aside that, what are the alternatives to that? Do you have ready-made proposals or ready companies who are willing to step into the shoes of the existing sponsor and take over the same liabilities they have for you. I doubt.
No,
so,
you mean no
we don't
body.
have. I have thrown a challenge to a lot of proponents of that view that, look, if we want the Football Association to cancel this contract, I even urge you to find a sponsor who will pay just 70% of what this sponsor is paying. And they've not been able to come forth with anybody. It's not as easy as that.
Is it because the league is not attractive to corporate bodies?
I don't think so. I think that, as I indicated, one of the main reasons is how much can Ghanaian companies cough up by way of sponsorship to fund the league. How much? In the past, we had a lot of companies coming forward to sponsor the league. Nobody paid anything near, not even 50% of what we are getting for the current sponsorship. I also think that probably a lot of marketing initiatives have not been brought to bear on some of these potential sponsors to see the gains they stand to derive from associating with football. And that is one thing we need to do more on, to market the league and then hammer home the benefits that these potential sponsors stand to derive from associating with the...
Is it fair then to say that the marketing committee of the FA is quote-unquote underworking?
It's just not the marketing committee of the FA. I think that to some extent it may be true. To some extent, even yesterday I made an observation like that somewhere. To some extent it may be true, but I think it goes beyond that. We all have a responsibility. Even the media is not helping in this regard. You spend more time talking about foreign leagues than your own domestic league. You devote a lot of time and resources talking about the European leagues, and if we compare that to the time that our media spends on our local league, it's woefully inadequate.
Really? I don't think so. I disagree.
I disagree. That's my observation.
I disagree, President.
Well, so that was our FA President Kwesi Nyan Tichi addressing the issue of funding of the Globe Premier League. Well, he's made it clear that Globe as a company, we're going to be paying some of these monies owed to the Ghana Football Association, and by extension the clubs who do play in the Globe Premier League in certain trench as well. Even the first trench, we understand, courtesy the interview we brought to you from PLB chairman Warbeck Abrapia, is not ready. Well, so at this moment we're still not too certain when that is going to be paid. Globe have assured the Premier League board that that money is going to be made available on Saturday, but I was just asking myself whether Saturday was a working day, and if transactions were going to be done concerning that kind of money, how that was going to work out on a Saturday, knowing very well that Ghana and Nigeria really don't do business on weekends, and you'd have to wait till Monday if you want to do some banking transactions. Well, some banks do some kind of business on Saturday, but for very short hours, and how all that will be sorted out. Well, let's wait and see if Globe can be able to redeem themselves before March the 1. We're still focusing on issues concerning the Globe Premier League and into the camp of Kumasi Asante Kotoko. Now, new signing Bonnie is eyeing continental glory with the club. Kumasi Asante Kotoko are looking forward to retaining the Globe Premier League for the third time. On Sunday, they defeated Mediama Sporting Club by 3-0 to win the Super Cup for the second time running. And obviously, for anyone who has been paying attention to the activities of the Porcupine Warriors, they should be one of the teams to watch out for as far as our season 2013-2014 is concerned. We still stay with the Porcupine Warriors, and this time to the man who has been running the affairs of the club for some time now. Former Kotoko great and legend Pukunti has been given a 3-month extension to his job. Well, Kotoko do now have a new board that is chaired by lawyer Edu Jemfi, and that team have given Opokunti a 3-month extension to his job, and I'm sure it all has to do with the commencement of the Globe Premier League. They need to make sure that they have the right structures in place and the right people to man the affairs of the club going into March they want. So maybe for them it only makes sense that Opokunti is given a little more time to put things together before a substantive management team is named. And interestingly, most of our stories today focusing on Kumasi Asante Kotoko, because one gentleman who had a sterling career playing for Bundesliga giants Bayern Munich in Germany and is now a part of the board of Kumasi Asante Kotoko, Samuel Osaikofo, is rumored to be interested in the Kotoko CEO position. Well, Samuel Osaikofo, until a couple of weeks ago when he was named onto the Kotoko board, was more into private businesses. He owns quite a number of businesses all over town, and his appointment onto the Kotoko board came with some pomp and pageantry, if you like. And word we are getting from the quarters of the player is that he is interested in the Kotoko CEO position. Away from that, Sunderland, who signed a deal with Kumasi Asante Kotoko last season, have had their officers in a town to speak to the club, of course, Kumasi Asante Kotoko, and to find out whether the deal that they signed with the KK Sapon-led administration is still going to be binding now that Doctor is not around. Well, we managed to speak to the Sunderland International Development's coach, who was basically here to have a look at the Kotoko under 18 team, and this is what he had to share with us.
Training with coaching with the under 18s, the squad that was supposed to come to Sunderland in the summer, so unfortunately that didn't materialise at the moment. So I coached them one day, and I seen them play a game the next day. So I was very impressed with the standard of the players, the professionalism. They won 4-0. They played very well, so that was good. Gary and Claire came up from Accra and for the day to meet the board, and they were very impressed with the new board. It was we had lunch. We met a representative of the King. They had a good afternoon, and it was just to affirm, you know, the relationship between Kotoko and Sunderland. If the new board had any thoughts differently from the previous, but I think it's been pointed out, it's not a partnership between the current chairman, the past chairman, or Gary or myself. The partnership is between the clubs, and that's important. So we just came up to reaffirm that everything, Sunderland are still, you know, we're focusing very strongly on continuing to support Kotoko. If we can support each other, and it was just to get a feeling from the new board, and as I say, it was positive, and we hope that, you know, it's a new start. We can build on where we left off last year, you know. So that was basically the idea of the trip, you know.
Yeah. Watching the young players, I'm sure the objective was not how much goals they could score or how many goals they could score, but their talent and their skill. How do you rate them finally?
Yeah, well, listen, I mean, goals are, when you get to under 18, it's also nice to finish off good play with scoring goals. Everybody wants to see goals, but you're 100% right. The priority is the ability and the passion that they showed. I thought there was a number of very good players that I think would flourish and could go and play in Europe. You know, it's hard to say at a young age of 18, but you know, when you've watched as much football, your eye tells you that some of the boys, you know, I'm not disappointed. It makes me a little bit angry that we didn't get that trip, because I would have been proud to take the players over to Sunderland. I know they wouldn't have let anyone down. I know they've done Kotoko.
Well, that was Sunderland International Development School's Chisholm speaking to a team here in Kumasi, where they came to familiarize themselves with the inner workings of the club and to find out whether the deal that they signed with Dr. Kiki Sapon's administration would still be binding. But I'm sure Kotoko would clearly want to benefit from this deal with Sunderland and wouldn't want to call that off. To the camp of Accra Hearts of Oak now, and in the course of the week, Coach David Duncan, together with his management, with his technical team and management, met with some fans of the club, and it was at this meeting that the coach is said to have made certain comments concerning the inner workings of the club and, of course, his relationship with the media this season, and what Coach David Duncan is saying for season 2013, season 2014, is that he's not going to be granting too many interviews to media personnel out there. If you want to have a word with him, well, it's got to be pretty official, especially on match days, while he's prepared to grant us many interviews after games. But prior to these games, well, he's not going to be doing too much talking. Duncan is known to be one character who does a lot of talking before, during, and after games, and he's made it clear to everyone now when he can be assessed to do some interviews. And Kumasi King Faisal have made Tete Noti the skipper for season 2013, season 2014. Tete Noti used to feature for Accra Hearts of Oak last season. Let's have a look at matches coming up in the Globe Premier League this week. Some very tight fixtures coming up in the Globe Premier League this weekend. So there you have them on your screen. New Dubiase going to play in Accra Hearts of Oak at the Gemfi Park. The Barbara Sports Stadium is going to be Kumasi Asante Kotoko versus the Diana Stars. Tema is going to be Inter Allies, the New Boys, who are up against the Busian Dwarfs. At second D is going to be Hazakis versus Mediama Sporting Club. At Bichim United will play Amidaya's Professionals at the Golden City Park. Chelsea will play Kumasi King Faisal. At Pandu, it's going to be Pandu Heart of Lions versus Ash Gold and at the Cow Rindolph Park. Unfortunately, Liberty have not been able to meet the PLB's criteria for their venue, so they are not going to be playing at the Cow Rindolph Park. They'll be playing their games at the Accra Sports Stadium. So for fans of Liberty in and around Dantuman who have been trooping there to watch them in action on match days, Liberty are not at least going to be playing at the Cow Rindolph Park for the first round of the Globe Premier League. They've been giving a duration of up to the end of the first round to be able to fix their facility before they can use the Cow Rindolph Stadium. Let's now focus on some Ghanaian internationals, beginning with Emmanuel Ajimai Bedu, who is on the verge of signing a new contract with his club, Udinese. The player was on the verge of leaving the club last season, but a good run of games have given the Bianconeri a rethink into the player's contract, and the club are prepared to offer the Ghanaian international an extension to his previous contract. And Sule Ali Muntari is also in the news. He's back in Milan to win the Scudetto this season. Milan have lost out Kevin Prince Boateng to Schalke, but the likes of Nigel de Jong have come back from injury and maybe have made the squad a lot more competitive. And Muntari believes that Milan has a squad good enough to perform a lot better than they did last season. But of course, the pundits are betting that Juventus or Inter or Napoli, who have signed God knows how many players in the new season, will be the team to beat. Already, Napoli have won two of their two games so far. The likes of Marek Hamsik and all the new boys in the Dries, Martin, Raul Albiol, Jose Maria Calayon, and the likes of Gonzalo Higuain doing the business for their Estadio San Paulo club. We move from Sule Ali Muntari to Jordan Ayew. Well, he's not been having a good round of games under new boss Eli Bo. The player was on the verge of joining West Bromwich Albion in the course of last season, but his bigger brother is urging him to seize his opportunities, and now that he's been made a part of Marseille's Champions League squad and of course getting a regular round of games at Olympic Marseille. Jordan has not been called up for the senior national team, the Black Stars, over decisions that we all do know right now, and he withdrew his services from the national team camp. At the time, he thought that he was doing very well and he was not getting a call up into the team. Big brother urging his little brother to work very, very hard and seize the opportunities at his new club. From Jordan Ayew, we move on to Samuel Inkum. Well, Inkum has had a torrid time after his move from Basel in Switzerland to Dnipro. He's really had games after disagreements with coach Wande Ramos, and he has revealed that Dnipro have placed a 10 million euro price tag on him, which is warding of suitors who would want to sign. The player Inkum was in fantastic form for FC Basel before he went to Dnipro. He went to Bastia on loan in the second half of last season. He's returned to Dnipro and he's barely got a looking into his new club. And sad news we gather coming in from Tunisia, because Derek Mensah, Ghana youth star, is alleged to have suffered some kind of a heart attack at training with his new club. Well, word we are getting from Tunisia is that the player is in stable condition after being given the support he needed from the club's team doctors. He signed for Club Africain in Tunis, and very, very sad news, very concerned one as such, and our hearts and thoughts are with the player, his family, friends, and anyone connected to him at this point. We understand his situation is stabilized now, and he is on the verge of recovery. Well, there's going to be a lot of interest on the second part of those tables that you saw in there, because the positioning of the African teams are going to play a significant role in how the teams are going to be placed in the various sports ahead of the African playoffs. We're going to be seeing a table of the 10 teams that have made it to the playoff stage of the African qualification for Brazil 2014, and then you'd have a fair idea of who is going to be where and who is going to be in which pot. Sad news though coming in from Cape Verde. Now Cape Verde have been disqualified from the playoff stage of Brazil 2014 after they fielded an unqualified player in Saturday's group qualifier against Tunisia. And every single tweet or every single comment I've seen on social media in the last 24 hours has been one of sadness for this Cape Verdean team, a team with a lot of promise and having fought so hard to make it this far. The decision of one administrator or whoever it is who decided to get this young man into the team in that game against Tunisia, the Rades, over the weekend has cost the nation so much. What a way for a romantic story, if you like, to come to an end. Very, very, very sad indeed with regards to that Cape Verdean story. Well, FIFA has also rejected Congo's appeal in that regard. Congo also looking forward to getting a few points of some other teams in their group, but FIFA have rejected Congo's appeal in that regard, and they say they would not be taking any action from over Mahamani's ceases eligibility to play for Niger. Well, that would have changed the dynamics in that particular group if the points had been handed over to the Congolese team, because Burkina Faso also happened to be in this group. And if Congo had been given the points, then they may have gotten a lot more points, either than the Burkinabe to have also qualified for the playoff. And it's sad that in 2013, teams worked so hard on the pitch only to lose those points in the back room. Ethiopia have lost points. Equatorial Guinea have lost points as well. Cape Verde have lost points as well. And, well, FIFA are saying maybe enough is enough, and they would want teams winning points on the field of play rather than in the boardroom. Now, let's take a look at the seeded teams for the African World Cup playoffs shortly. And you would get to see, again, who is in pot 1 and who is in pot 2 ahead of the draw later next week. In pot 1, we're going to be having the seeded teams. We would have the likes of Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, Nigeria, Algeria, and Tunisia, who have made it through. In pot 2, we're going to be having Egypt, Burkina Faso, Cameroon, Senegal, and Ethiopia. Now, what this simply means is that the teams in Pot 1 are going to be drawn against Pot 2. So if your interest obviously has to do with that team Ghana, then there's always a chance that we could come up against any of these 5 teams. Some have already started praying for Ethiopia because they think that the other teams are going to be one hard nut to crack. We'll do a round of commercials at this point, and then when we come back, we'll keep you up to speed with a lot more stories on the continent and beyond. You stick and stay with us. Let's still stay with issues concerning the World Cup playoff, and FA President Kwesi Nyantakyi and Coach Akwesi Appiah are scheduled to be at the World Cup playoff draw in Cairo on Monday. Ghana would likely come up against any of the teams in Pot 2. So if you didn't see that earlier on, it's likely to be Cameroon, Senegal, Ethiopia, Egypt, or Burkina Faso. We are going to be avoiding the teams in Pot 1. And the National Sports Authority have decided not to sell advance tickets for World Cup games involving Ghana. They raised up to what, 212,000 Ghana cedi, we are told. And well, because of the challenges that he had concerning the game over the on Friday, last Friday, it looks like that idea of selling advance tickets for international matches is not going to be something that's going to be happening, especially when we have a playoff game coming up. Well, those tickets ended up with all kinds of people who ended up doing very good business with them, if you like. Some selling at 6, 7, 8 times the original amount of these tickets. So maybe you'd have to go and queue for long hours when we play our next playoff game in Accra or in Kumasi. Well, the FA haven't come out to tell us where the venue for the playoffs is going to be, so we're just waiting to see where that game would be played. Let's now focus on some news concerning some continental stars of the game, and begin with Emmanuel Adebayo. Now, he has been ordered by Coach Andre Villas-Boas to train with the reserve side of the team when he comes back to England from compassionate leave. Well, the player has been in Togo in the last few days as a result of the death of his brother, and Andres Villas-Boas has revealed that the player would have to train with the club's reserve team when he makes his way back to England. The player has struggled for games of the season after Spurs made quite a number of signings in the striking department of the game. Roberto Soldado and Eric Lamela also coming into the camp of the Lily Whites. And Alex Song, who plays for football club Barcelona, is said to be on the radar of Manchester United. Manchester United boss David Moyes was disappointed at not being able to recruit players of his choice. United only signing Marouane Fellaini on the last day of the transfer deadline. Moves for the likes of Chester Fabregas or failing to happen. And the manager is now not said to be weighing up the option for a January move for Barcelona midfielder Alex Song, who has barely got a good round of games at his club. And Samuel Eto'o is also in the news, and his former boss at Andy Makashkala, Roberto Carlos, has revealed that the player could be a disruptive influence as a result of his ego in the dressing room. Eto'o made the move from Dagestani club Andy Makashkala to English club Chelsea, and the transfer window on wages said to be in the region of 117,000 euros a week. Well, the last time I checked, my producer Rashida Kadiri was on the verge of signing a 50,000 euro deal with Multimedia FC. So chances are that Mr. Tando would also be benefiting from that particular deal. We'll see how that works out. And Stephen Keshi is also backing Liverpool for the English Premier League title. The Reds have been in very good form all season. They are the only team in the English Premier League with a 100% record. And Nigerian boss Stephen Keshi is backing Liverpool to win the English Premier League this season. Well, Liverpool play Southampton later this week, and then will look to make it 4-4 in the English Premier League. And Ivory Coast are said to be interested in wanting to bid for the 2019 and the 2021 African Cup of Nations. The Ivory Coast will be to host this tournament, as has been revealed by their government. Now, the last time the Ivorians hosted this tournament was in 1984. A lot of Ghanaians will remember that because of the Boake debacle. The Ivorians have not had the opportunity to host the African Cup of Nations since then, and we'll be looking forward to hosting the Cup of Nations yet again. They are putting in a bid for 2019. Well, that was Sweden international star Zlatan Ibrahimovic having a stake on Jose Mourinho and the signing of Gareth Bale by Real Madrid. Courtesy the BBC, we brought to you that special interviews. Matches coming up in the English Premier League later this weekend. Let's have a look at who is playing against who. That should be on your screen pretty shortly. Stoke City and Manchester City, though, that game is going to be live here on Joy Sports on Multi TV. So there you are. Manchester United are up against Crystal Palace. Aston Villa will be playing Newcastle United. Fulham will play West Bromwich Albion. Hull City will play Cardiff. Stoke City will play Manchester City. That game is going to be live here on Joy Sports on Multi TV. And then Sunderland will play Arsenal. Arsenal will be looking for a third straight win after they lost out to Aston Villa on match day 1 of the Premiership. Spurs will play Norwich and would also want to bounce back from that defeat to the Gunners 2 weeks ago. Everton will play Chelsea, with Southampton playing West Ham United. Well, he's a very good player and he'll make the team better, and you dare not make the team better when the 100 million euros is paid for your services. You've got to shine. Not even Zinedine Zidane, was sold for that kind of money by the Bianconeri to the Madridistas when he signed for them, a couple of years ago. Zlatan Ibrahimovic also mentioned that Barca had to pay quite a substantial amount of money to get him to play for them when he signed for them as well. Let's get to see the fixtures coming up in the Spanish La Liga. Atletico Madrid will play Almeria. Levante will play Real Sociedad. Football Club Barcelona will play Sevilla. Villarreal will play Real Madrid. Granada will play Espanyol. Getafe will play Osasuna. Malaga will play Rayo Vallecano. Real Betis will play Valencia. Elche will play Real Valladolid, and Elche's game, of course, is of significance to a lot of Ghanaians because Richmond Boachi Adam plays there together with Michael Anaba. So hopefully we'll get to see that as well. Let's move on and get to see fixtures coming up in the Italian Serie A. Big games coming up in the Serie A this weekend. Well, the biggest game maybe in Europe this weekend is that match up there, Inter against Juventus. Both teams have won all their games in the Italian Serie A this season, and Inter would look forward to making it 3-3. Juventus would have a lot to say about that. Napoli would also be looking for 3-3 when they host Atalanta at Stadio San Paolo in Naples. Torino will play Milan. Fiorentina will play Cagliari. Verona will play Sassuolo. Lazio will play Chievo Verona. Livorno will play Catania. Udinese will play Bologna. Sampdoria will play Genoa. And Parma will play Roma. Well, so that was a preview of our matches coming up in the German Bundesliga. Let's get to see the fixtures pretty shortly as Borussia Dortmund look forward to making it 5-5. Well, there you are. Hertha Berlin are up against the VfB Stuttgart. Bayer Leverkusen will play VfL Wolfsburg. Bayern Munich will play Hannover 96. FC Augsburg will play SC Freiburg. Mainz will play Schalke 04. And the interest there would have to be Kevin Prince Boateng, who moved on from Milan to the Veltins Arena. Werder Bremen will play Eintracht Frankfurt. Borussia Dortmund will look forward to making it 5-5 when they take on Hamburg. TSG Hoffenheim will play Borussia Mönchengladbach, and TSV Eintracht Braunschweig will play Nuremberg. To France now, and we'll get to see matches coming up in the French League as well. Bordeaux will play Paris Saint-Germain. Toulouse will play Marseille. AC Ajaccio will play Evian Thonon-Gaillard. Gangon will play Bastia. Montpellier will play Stade de Reims. Nantes will play Sochaux. Valenciennes will play Saint-Etienne. AS Monaco will play Lorient. Lille will play Nice. And Lyon will play Stade Rennais.